Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles. My name is Danny De Lillo. We're here at Emerson College in Los Angeles. I'm here with Clay with his movie Our Place Together. Let's take a look at the clip.
Do you think this is how worms have sex?
Yeah, pretty much. They're hermaphrodites, so when they fuck, they actually try and inseminate each other at the same time.
Wait, actually?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How the fuck do you know that?
8th grade science.
This is why I always suggest we flip fuck.
Clay, thank you for being here, present.
Thank you.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for bringing your film to us. Honestly, it was such a wonderful story. For those that haven't seen it, tell us a brief synopsis.
Sure. Our Place Together is a story of two young husbands who retreat to their favorite camping spot to hash out some rather life-altering news.
I just love this story, and for someone that programs a lot of LGBTQ+ content, being part of the community, I was just so happy that you made a story that was not like highlighting it was just this love story going on with this, quite difficult situation that was taking place. Where did the inspiration come for you in creating this particular story?
So it's a bit of a roundabout answer. Unfortunately, my mother passed away from cancer a number of years ago, and my father is currently dealing with his own cancer battle right now. And in conversations that I've had with various friends throughout the years about, like, are you gonna have kids? Especially being a part of the queer community, I've had some female friends that are like, would you be interested in being a sperm donor, for us to have children? And all of this, I realized I had all of this trauma and turmoil going on internally, just understanding my own genetic baggage.
Yeah.
Being that both of my parents, ended up having cancer, and I don't know what that means for me, but it's very present in my sort of thought process of what would I potentially be putting, passing on to biological children, and or just the experience of putting a child through, growing up with a parent who, might succumb to that.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
be struggling with that. So.
Wow, that's. Thank you for sharing that and sending best wishes to your dad as well. And
thank you.
And goodness me, you put a lot of energy into this film, and the fact that it comes from a personal place, and you've executed in this wonderful story is so fantastic. Now this story obviously takes place like outside. I was already thinking from a filmmaker perspective. Goodness me, was there interruptions, in these being in the outside world? I was thinking you must have had a lot of patience.
It's really interesting because we scouted for a while to find the location. We wanted to keep it in California for all of the cast and crew and everything, but it was tricky because we desperately needed a running water source, so a river or a stream. It was really important for me to have that as part of the story. And shooting in the summer in or around Los Angeles, trying to find a running water source was very tricky. So we ended up in Sequoia National Forest, which is about like 3 hours north of here. And actually, there were no interruptions like planes or cars or anything, because we had no cell service.
Wow.
It was absolutely in the middle of nowhere.
It looked beautiful.
It was gorgeous, and yes, it was very hot. It was like 100 degrees every day.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! What's it? For making this incredible story, and again, you've got this, two husbands together, obviously going through this very difficult conversation, and a lot of couples may have gone through. What's your kind of process as a director and sort of leading through the process? Because I really did love the dynamic of how you sort of took it to flashbacks and flash forwards and all this kind of added extras that I love, that I got to sort of pick the puzzle together of what was actually happening to them. How is your process with this kind of thing as a director? Are you quite hands-on? Do you let people play? Like, what's that kind of experience for you?
I mean, I know, from my experience that filmmaking is a collaborative art, and there's a reason why you put together a team of people that you trust to do their piece, because you can see it all coming together with whatever they're going to bring to the table. And so especially with the cast, I knew that once Elliot and Rory were in, that they would bring a whole magic to it that I couldn't have ever put on the page. Or so we did some rehearsals before we went on to location, and really discovered a lot there. And then there's also, I think part of the story being set in this place, which, is in the sort of history of those characters, is a place that they have come back to time and time again, which is why you see these flashbacks, and that the place itself is a character. So and that became very evident when we were starting to shoot, like how the place itself was influencing the performances and the camera angles and everything. And so I think there's a bit of fluidity that I like to have in my process, to sort of let things organically happen, and then if we need to do another take, I can say, like, yes, whatever you just did, keep going with that, or finding those moments that you really can't plan for.
And tell us about your cast, because I mean, they work so perfectly together, played off each other so very, very well, and you really felt what they were going through. How was the casting process for you?
I had a really wonderful casting director, Leslie Wasserman, who had worked with before on other things, and I knew it was very, very important to me that we cast gay actors to play the roles. And we had a bit of a truncated casting timeline, so I kind of was like, well, let's start by doing offers for people whose work I respect. And so honestly, it was very short, because I wrote both Elliot and Rory were my first choices, and I wrote them both letters explaining sort of why I thought they would be right for the roles, and sent them the script, and they were both in pretty quickly. So
that's amazing.
And they were absolutely wonderful to work with.
Oh, wonderful. No, they just did. So it's lovely when you see just these, people go together, as a couple, but as actors, and they go through together, and you see their journey just evolving together from the experiences, and it really, showed on camera as well. Now, from sort of like an overall production value, like what was kind of maybe some of the bigger challenges that you faced?
I mean, definitely shooting on that location was a huge challenge. We had to house everybody for 3 days, and the location was so remote that we ended up booking like 3 or 4 Airbnbs in the closest town, which was still an hour away from set.
Wow!
So it was a logistics nightmare to try to wrangle everybody with the right call times, with a certain number of vehicles, to get to location without any cell service. So if something happened, we'd be like, well, eventually we'll send somebody to find them, or something. But just logistically trying to make all of that happen in such a remote place was tricky. Yeah.
Well, you did inspire me when I go camping, so that was one good thing. So you definitely did well for that forest. But what's it? I mean, obviously it's been a very interesting time to sort of go on the festival run. What's the festival run been like for you? Obviously, we're very excited to have you at New Filmmakers LA. What's that experience been like for you so far?
Yeah, I'm so stoked to be at New Filmmakers LA. I've loved this organization for years.
Oh.
It's been a very interesting year to be on the circuit. I have a history of working with various film festivals as in sort of logistics, but also in programming, and so festivals have been part of my life for a very, very long time, and I was really excited, as is every filmmaker, I'm sure, to like screen your film in front of an audience and hear their reactions, have the live Q&A, all of that, and unfortunately I have not had any of that. So that's been something to to sort of grapple with.
Yeah.
That said, like every festival that we have played has been so gracious and have, you know, made the best attempts at like, okay, we know we can't have you in person, but like, let's do this and let's see what, you know, we can do to give you some sort of a special experience around this. And it's been lovely. I mean, it just reinforces for me that the folks that are putting on these festivals are incredible people, and they understand the value of the work that's being created and that you're putting into it.
And going back to the subject of the film, you know, obviously they're faced with a dilemma. Was this kind of, you know, obviously coming from a personal place too, was this kind of important dialogue that you wanted to kind of put out there to an audience? Because, you know, there's a lot of people that may go through this or don't know what one goes through when they're going through this. And of course, it's something, questions you've asked yourself. Was that kind of something that you wanted to sort of address, obviously, on screen?
Yeah, I think that's sort of kind of multi-pronged in a few ways. Like, I don't think parenthood in general is discussed on screen in the context of a queer couple very often, and certainly not in a hyper realized kind of way that in which these two characters find themselves in. And yeah, I think I wanted to examine the situation. I don't know. I guess I at a place in my life where I have a lot of straight friends who are starting families and having babies, and it seems very straightforward. And I guess I wanted to ignite a dialogue around, like, what if it isn't straightforward?
Yeah.
Like, what if, you know, you have questions about, like, is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? Like, you know, what is the life of the child gonna be like?
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like that's often missing in conversations, especially in the straight community, and you know, I think that's comes from just a lot of societal pressure. It's like, that's what you do.
Yeah,
you know? And
absolutely.
I think queer people have escaped that, like, obligation of, like, we're a couple, we must be married, we must have a baby, you know. But it also, there's just a lot more complexity to take into account, regardless of if you're a heterosexual couple or a homosexual couple. So,
well, I mean, I really love that you just, you know, raised the awareness of this and did it for the, you know, art of love and of course, like, you know, trying to come to terms of what you want as a couple, as an individual. I think it was really just portrayed really, really wonderfully, and thank you for sharing that. What is next for you?
I am working on a feature sort of version of this story.
Oh, great.
I've been writing that sort of during the pandemic. And I'm also working on a documentary project, so very, very different path.
Nice.
But
yeah,
you know, you go where the inspiration is. So
yeah. Well, speaking of inspiration, finally finish on for our filmmaking audience. Is there a piece of advice that you share or go by that to sort of support you in your artistic journey? I know it's an on-the-spot question. It's crazy.
And it's pressure.
It's pressure. There's no pressure here, though. Trust me.
I mean, anybody in the filmmaking community knows that everybody has advice. So I think, like, take advice wherever you can get it, but also don't forget to just listen to your own gut and your own instinct as an artist in terms of what you feel is important to tell, because you will be surprised with who it connects to. Very
true. Thank you. Well, thank you, Clay. Thank you for your film. Keep making more movies. Keep bringing them to us, and thanks for being part of the New Filmmakers family.
I'm very happy to be. Thank you.